Welcome to B&B Movie Reviews. I'm Brian, this is Brad, hence the name. Today we'll be reviewing the new drama from Jennifer Lawrence, a very weird musical biopic, discussing The Man in Black, and taking a trip to Wakanda. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a moment.
Open and the fan is broke, and my face is turning blue. Yeah. I haven't been in a crowd like this since I went to see The Who. Well, I should have got off a couple miles ago, but I couldn't get to the door. There isn't any room for me to breathe. Now we're gonna pick up more, yeah! Another one rides the bus. Another one rides the bus. And another comes on, and another comes on. Another one rides the bus. Hey, he's gonna sit by you. Another one rides the bus.
That's a scene from the new biographical parody, Weird, the Yankovic Story, where Yankovic comes up with Another One Rides the Bus when he's challenged by Wolfman Jack to come up with a parody song on the spot at this LA party with an eccentric cast of characters. I'm your host, Bryan Young, and I'm here with my good friend, Brad Gullickson. Brad, this movie is a bit wild. You know what? It caught me off guard when I saw it because going into this film, I literally thought that this was going to be an actual biopic, and I didn't even consider the fact that this was going to be like a parody of biopics. I was actually looking for the story of Weird Al, and when you see the opening scene, and you see that it's a Funny or Die production, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm getting myself into. But I thought that kind of worked going into the film, but it caught me off guard.
The last thing we need is another musical biopic,
yes.
Right? Like, for my money, that's the most boring genre right now.
It very much is.
And they're all the same. Weird Al, though, okay, I'm curious. I'm excited. Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al? I'm in. Now you are replacing the beats of a musical biopic the way Al replaces the beats and the lyrics of songs and creates a parody that's something totally original and unique.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of brilliant.
I thought that angle of it was kind of genius, and even seeing like how absurd and left field some of the scenes and performances could go. Toby Huss, who plays his father, which, I kind of took notice of him when he played the assassin in Cop Shop in Joe Carnahan's film a couple of years ago. But now it's like, seeing him as his father and all the absurdity, like when he gets his first accordion and his father comes in and beats up the salesman, and then the fact that he works at a factory that they don't know what they make.
Yeah.
It's extremely absurd. And it feels very fitting for a Funny or Die production. But yeah, I like that. My biggest thing was I didn't know if it could hold the runtime of like an hour and 48 minutes.
And it can't.
Exactly.
It can't, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
like the first half of that movie, I am totally delighted. I'm having such a good time.
Yeah.
When they go to that party and Jack Black, spoilers, is playing Wolfman Jack. That is so good. Conan O'Brien, Andy Warhol, like it is a riot.
Yeah.
When Evan Rachel Wood comes in as Madonna, I was kind of excited, but that's when the movie really starts to get wild and crazy.
Yes.
And also a little long and less funny.
It starts to lose me in that second half. I like the beginning of that because it does kind of follow the beats of a biopic where you see Daniel Radcliffe as a Weird Al starts to kind of like she becomes like the wedge in between him and the rest of his band.
Yeah.
And like that whole scene, like it's extremely funny when I think Weird Al says like, I've only known you for like 6 hours, but I'm in love with you. And then I'm starting to think to myself, and I have to like separate my expectations because like I want to know the real story. I'm like, did he really date Madonna? Like, did all this stuff like really happen? So but
None of it happened, Brian.
I know, but that's the thing. I'm still looking at it like an actual
Go to
biopic.
VH1, Behind the Music.
Yeah, this really falls in line with like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Yeah, yes, I mean, it's hard not to draw those parallels, but I feel like it still manages to remain in the spirit of Weird Al's songs. It's not quite like Airplane, the way that Dewey Cox's Walk Hard was. Like, this is more, I mean, this is more Weird Al. It's more Weird Al than that.
It is. What's your rating for this?
It's a strong 3 stars, 3 out of 5 stars. It's a strong 3. It's too long. It's a sketch that's been stretched into a movie, but I had a great time with it.
Same. When I saw it, I wanted to like it more if it would have kind of stuck the landing a little bit more, because it goes to a very absurd place by the end of this movie. And I kind of like the brilliance of that, but I also think that's kind of the detriment of that film as well. So I give it a strong 3 stars. All right, going on to our next film. Our next film is the new Apple TV Plus drama Causeway, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry, about a U.S. soldier who experienced a traumatic injury during her tour in Afghanistan, which forces her to return home to New Orleans. She struggles to get back to her daily life with her mother as she waits for her eventual redeployment. So let me start with you, Brad. What were your thoughts on Causeway? I like the fact that Jennifer Lawrence is kind of going back to some of these smaller character-driven movies after doing some big-budget films. But what were some of your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I echo that sentiment. Okay. You know, this does feel like her going back to Winter's Bone.
Yes.
You know, it's a small performance. Most of the performance is done through body language and expression, and I love those kinds of movies. Yeah. It's a story about 2 broken characters who find some kind of humanity in each other, or they rekindle their own humanity through each other.
That's what I like. I like the connection that Brian Tyree Henry's character and Jennifer Lawrence's character have, because they come from 2 completely different backgrounds, but they have like this shared traumatic experience that they connect with. And I like seeing the character-driven parts of that movie. I think that really works. I think some of the things that really didn't work for me was the fact that I think I just wanted more. It's a very nuanced, they're both very nuanced performances, and it's a very quiet film, but I thought it just didn't go as deep as the movie was intending to go.
I think we've seen movies like this before, and in that familiarity, there's maybe some boredom that occurs.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the performance side of things, you know, the director Lila Neugebauer, she's from the theater, and this feels like a play, but unlike a play, she can put a camera on a person's face and just hold.
Just let it
and
play. Jennifer
Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry, all their emotions are communicated through their expressions.
Exactly.
It's not in the script, and I like that kind of thing.
I enjoy that.
But it's a little slow.
It is a little slow.
It's not that it's a little slow. It's a little familiar.
Very familiar. I think we've seen this movie many times, especially around this time of year.
Yeah.
What's your rating for this one?
3 stars, not as strong as the last 3 stars.
Yeah, I give it 2.5. I'm kind of split down the middle. I think it's not a movie that I would revisit, but I really enjoyed the performances. And Brian Tyree Henry, you can't go wrong. So you still got to check out Atlanta.
I do need to watch Atlanta, yes.
Yeah. So when we come back, we are going to check out the film The Rock as the Man in Black. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
I told you, stop killing people.
They look alive to me.
Because I saved them.
Well, that's why I waited until you were there. I got the information I needed. No one died. I did it your way.
He does have a point.
I know it got lost in all the confusion, but we still have some issues to settle here. There are only heroes and there are villains.
You think yourself a hero, but you would let these criminals go free.
Heroes don't kill people.
Well, I do.
The stare down of the century between Hawkman and Black Adam over why killing is bad, who is the hero, who's not a hero in this trite, mundane, nonsensical, run-of-the-mill superhero film from the newly rebranded DCU. So I guess you kind of know what my thoughts are about this movie.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
if Black Adam had come out and, it's followed by this supporting cast of the Justice Society of America, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, Aldous Hodge as Hawkman,
Coming off of James Bond, Pierce Brosnan? Come on.
I would have lost my mind. I would have loved this movie.
Yeah.
I would have found a way to love this movie, the way that I found a way to love Howard the Duck as a child.
There you go.
Because it's what we had, right?
That's all we had.
It's not good.
It's not good. I mean, you look at the thing that really frustrates me about this movie is you look at The Rock and his passion for this particular project. And when this was announced in 2007, it's been 15 years that he's been developing this project. And to get the product that we got on the screen, which, and some people like it, and more power to them. But again, it feels like a very run-of-the-mill movie from the 90s that we've seen. And you look at specifically the superhero genre and what we've gotten, whether it's be in the MCU or other films, it's like they've been pushing the genre forward. And they've kind of been raising the bar. And this movie just feels like coming out at this time is not doing anything new or it's not doing anything interesting. And that's the thing where it's like I don't hate this movie, I don't dislike it, it's just boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah.
I love Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
I'll watch him in anything, and I do watch him in everything he does.
Pretty much.
And I will still do so.
Same.
Seeing him as Black Adam is exciting. He looks great. The suit is awesome.
He fits it.
I like this attitude that he has of, I'm an untouchable god, so I just sort of float through this screen. Nothing can touch me. I'm invincible. But we do need some sort of, conflict, development.
Yeah, something. I mean, the movie feels like the whole movie feels like a third act. It's just like action from beginning to end. There's really no type of character development. And you know what? I was thinking about this too. The one thing that really kind of frustrated me when I watched the film was how they treat his reveal like a twist. And I think that hurts the film as far as us as an audience getting connected to that character. So in the beginning, when he's 5,000 years before in Kahndaq, he has his son, and we're made to believe that it's his son that is given the status of champion by the Wizards. When, if you look at the marketing, we know that it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So why, when I'm watching this movie, are you treating that like a twist when you're not revealing that earlier in the movie? If you at least reveal that early in the film, then at least I can have more of an emotional connection to the character and following his journey of him losing his family instead of treating that like a twist towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
And then it just falls flat.
Yeah, from the moment the movie starts, we know the pain and the source of pain that Teth Adam is feeling.
Exactly.
But we have to wait through all this, again, floating through nonchalantly, nothing can touch me.
Yeah.
I'm the best, I'm the greatest. It's a facade,
Yeah.
but that facade doesn't really break until the ending, and we know why it's, going to break from the
Yeah.
beginning. So there's no tension there anyway. It's just this long, drawn-out narrative.
What's your rating for this one? Go ahead, tell me.
2.5 stars.
2.5. It's better than me. I give it 2 stars. It's just I just didn't like this movie at all. It just didn't work.
I find Dwayne Johnson compelling to watch.
Very compelling to watch, but he needs to make more compelling movies. So those are our thoughts on Black Adam. When we return, we're going to go ahead and take a trip to Wakanda for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Stay tuned.
Jason, let's go see your room.
How is it? Is it good?
My mother told stories about a place like this. A protected land with people that never have to leave, that never have to change who they were. What reason do you have to reveal your secret to the world?
I am not a woman who enjoys repeating herself. Who are you?
I have many names. My people call me Ahkukungkan. But my enemies call me Namor.
Namor confronts Queen Ramonda and Shuri about revealing their nation of Wakanda to the world and the threat that it has brought upon his people in the latest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that brings a close to Phase 4. Wakanda Forever picks up after the events of the first film, where T'Challa opens up the borders of Wakanda to the rest of the world. But 1 year after his untimely death, Wakanda is under pressure from other nations to share their vibranium with some parties and attempting to steal it by force. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a poignant film about grief, loss, anger, vengeance, and how we process those feelings and ultimately move on and push forward. Yeah, Brad, this was to me, this was a powerful film. I think that was the key that I took away from this, was that theme of grief and loss and vengeance. And we see that through all the characters in this film who are grieving the loss of their king. And I just like how Ryan Coogler really took that decision to, and this is something that's unprecedented, that I don't think that I've seen in film before, as far as like losing an actor and then having that film also acknowledge the passing of the character that actor plays and seeing that represented on film. And I thought that was a good decision to make, and ultimately like where that may lead moving forward in the MCU. But I just thought that was really powerful as far as the approach, the way they took this film. What are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the film itself feels like a ceremony, right?
Yeah.
It feels like a funeral for Chadwick Boseman as much as it does for the character of T'Challa. I think it's a hard movie to watch because we're bringing our own grief into the proceedings.
Yeah.
You know, the film does reflect the events of other Marvel movies, right? Like Marvel in Phase 4 has been all about grief.
Yeah.
Since Endgame, the loss of Tony Stark, WandaVision is all grief. The first Black Panther is about the loss of King T'Chaka and how T'Challa deals with it. And so in a lot of ways, this movie rhymes what was going on in the first film.
Yeah.
The difference is we've suffered a real grief in the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and suddenly we have to work out our own feelings around it. And it makes the movie not fun in some ways.
That was an interesting thing about it. It's like it really is not necessarily like one of those like hoorah type films where you're kind of rooting for, or you are rooting for it, but it just, there's a weight that's hanging over this film, and you feel it throughout, from the opening scene all the way to the end. Now, there are some lighthearted moments, and you have some levity with characters like, you know, Everett Ross and with Riri Williams and things like that. And we'll get that, you know, once we talk spoilers in the next segment. But I liked everything that, as far as like what this was dealing with, and the introduction of Namor and the civilization of Talicon. I thought that was really visually well realized. That was one of the big things that I take away. You know, you look at other underwater civilizations in movies. I think the biggest comparison will probably be to, of course, Aquaman.
Aquaman, yeah.
Aquaman and Atlantis.
I would also say Avatar. We got the Way of Water coming up. You see a lot of blue people running around. It's hard not to think of the Na'vi.
Yeah, it's true, very true. But the way that Ryan Coogler decided to approach Talicon and this civilization underwater, visually, I like the way that it looks, like the weightlessness of that civilization, the murkiness of the water. I'll save that for spoilers, but I liked everything, and just the way it was developed, like that, the way that Namor was developed and his people. What were some of your thoughts on that?
I think like Tenoch Huerta as Namor is a revelation.
Yeah, he's great.
He's incredible in the film. That is a character that is essential to the Marvel universe. It's in a lot of what he is like the first Marvel superhero, Namor, and to see him finally on the screen with his silly little wings on his ankles.
They work. It works.
Not only do they work, it looks amazing.
It does.
The action with Namor, the way that they get him to cut through the air using those wings, the way that he flies is unlike any other character in the MCU, and it's awesome to behold.
Yeah, that scene in Wakanda between the Talcones and the Wakandans, I thought was magnificent. And you're right, just the way he's able to maneuver, I thought it was genius the way they were able to kind of execute, and just the way they constructed the action and just that character in general. So yeah, I thought that was great.
And we have a film where it's primarily, awesome kick butt women.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it's.
Yeah, I want to get into that. I want to. There's a specific scene, and also the way that Ryan Coogler, and I've talked about this before, as far as like his approach to directing and how he uses silence. And one particular action sequence, the way he uses silence to really accentuate in one particular character, we'll get into that in the next segment, but one particular character, I thought it was really good the way that they executed that. So stay tuned. We will be back talking more Wakanda Forever with spoilers right after this break.
And someone says, you need a bone marrow transplant, those are just not words you want to hear.
I got a call that it was the best match. It was one of the best days of my life. I'm so happy that you're okay.
I just want to say thank you for the second chance at life. Thousands of patients need a donor like you. Learn how you can help at bethematch.org.
Yeah, we'll see. Welcome back. We're here continuing our discussion on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Now we're going to get into a little bit more spoilers. So with that, spoilers, Brad.
Spoilers.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with you. What do you want to talk about with this movie to get a little bit deeper into what this movie's about?
I think that for the first half of this movie, it's one of the best Marvel films ever. Beyond the MCU, just like comic book movies, it's one of the best.
Yeah.
The first, 3 scenes, when we get to that scene with Queen Ramonda at the UN, and she's addressing these delegates who want their vibranium. You said you'd play ball with the world. Let's have some of that vibranium. And she's like, I don't trust you.
Yeah, we can't trust you.
And we have that action scene where Lake Bell gets obliterated by Namor,
which I loved.
Queen Ramonda, it felt like this was going to be Angela Bassett's movie. And I was so excited. Yeah. And it eventually transitions and it reveals itself to be Shuri's film. But when you go back and you rewatch it, it really is Shuri's film from the beginning. But you get distracted by how great Angela Bassett is. And then when they kill Angela Bassett, I was mad.
Same thing. And I felt the same way. And I agree. I think on a rewatch, when you actually look at the movie as a whole, you can track that it does stay with Shuri and it is her movie from beginning to end. I love the opening, even when we went to go see it on during that early screening. Like when the screen is black and you hear Shuri say that prayer to Bast, saying like, if you allow me to heal my brother, I'll believe. Because she's all about science and technology and she's less about tradition. So even starting with that prayer and then we go into that, everything is chaos with them trying to save T'Challa and then ultimately he dies. I thought that was a great scene to really establish where the mindset of Shuri is. And I think with that scene, with the funeral scene, going all the way up to the last scene of the movie, which with the last scene of the movie when she's in Haiti at the fire mirrors very much the scene that we just saw on the screen with Namor when Ramonda and Shuri at the fire, and going into that whole idea of like, when Ramonda tells her, it's like, when the wind blows, I can feel your brother. And she's like, that's just a construct of your mind. That's her, again, not really believing in the religion and the traditions of Wakanda and the spirituality of it. And it takes her journey to get to that point at the end, which really just kind of just hits you like as a gut punch. So I love seeing Shuri's journey throughout this whole movie. I think that really worked for me.
And you get to see how she deals with grief through the loss of her brother versus how her brother dealt with grief through the loss of T'Chaka.
Yeah.
And how, because of her relationship with science and her relationship with her own culture and religion, she doesn't process it the same way, and she has a lot of anger and rage. And when she crosses over to the ancestral plane, what an amazing sequence! Michael B. Jordan shows up as Killmonger,
and I thought that worked.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It makes sense.
It's awesome. It's fantastic. I do feel like, though, when we get to the very end and she has Namor on the ground and the spear to his throat, and Namor has killed her mom. Namor has caused war upon Wakanda. He has a lot of blood, a lot of red in his ledger now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Queen Ramonda reaches out from the ancestral plane to halt the blade from going in. Show him who you are. I love all that.
Yeah.
I understand that through the reality of the loss of Chadwick Boseman, we couldn't have T'Challa communicate in any way. But gosh, I really missed him.
And I think that's one of the things about the movie that works against it is the fact of, like, I don't think any of these specifically, I think Letitia Wright does a great job, but Chadwick Boseman just had this presence. He has like that it thing that, it feels like something is missing. And I think as an audience member, we know that he's gone, but even when she goes to the ancestral plane, there's something in the back of your mind. It's like, is she going to see her brother?
Just something feels wrong. And I'm glad we didn't. I don't want like a CGI Chadwick Boseman suddenly. That'd be atrocious.
Yeah.
But you do feel the loss in every kind of way. The emotional way, the narrative way.
Yeah. But yeah, the Riri Williams stuff I wanted to talk about a little bit. I think that stuff worked. It just, I don't know how I felt about her being, the way I wanted to talk about was Namor's motivation. I don't know if that was strong enough. The idea of him wanting to kill Riri because she was the inventor of the vibranium, what was it? The vibranium detector.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if the government already has her design, the inventor of the design is not really going to make a difference.
She is a MacGuffin.
Very
I don't
much so.
necessarily mind that too much, and I don't mind the logic that Namor has of like, well, she's the creator, we need to kill her. It's a very Namor thing. He doesn't do a lot of math. He goes on emotions. We got to do this. We're going to do it. The end.
Yeah.
I do think that some of the stuff around the introduction of Ironheart and Riri Williams is shorthanded.
It feels that way.
They bring in Everett Ross, and spoilers, they also bring in Julie Louis-Dreyfus as
I felt that
the Contessa.
I felt that was a little forced too.
And I agree, but it has like a moment that I think is essential to the themes of the movie where Everett Ross says to Val, look what imagine what we would be doing if we had the resources that they did. And Val's like, yes,
exactly.
I've been dreaming of that. And this movie is all about, colonizers and the villainy of that.
It is.
The genocide that was put upon Namor's people is atrocious.
So
why are they fighting though?
I know.
Shouldn't they team up?
They need to team up. What's your rating?
Oh my goodness. I had such a good time with the well, again, I loved the movie.
Yeah.
Did I have a good time with it? I'm still processing it.
Okay.
Right? So I'm gonna go 3.5 stars with the hope that it'll go higher with rewatches.
I'm going 4 stars. So yeah, that's my rating for Wakanda Forever. Just to kind of recap everything that we went through, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, I give 3 stars. Brad also gives that 3 stars. Causeway, I give 2.5 stars. Brad gives it 3 stars. Black Adam, 2 stars for me. No good. Brad, he likes a little bit more, 2.5 stars, and Wakanda Forever, we both really like. He gives it 3.5. I give it 4 stars. So that is it for the B&B Movie Review Show, and we will see you next time at the theater.